I think it would probably also be a good time to inject that a lot of people mistake illumination or awareness for growth. So that's kind of why I wanted to define growth, is because there's one thing to just be aware of something or illuminate it. Like, oh, now I know how this works. That's different than, oh, now I know how this works and I'm going to start to create behavior change in myself to adjust and accommodate something I want to be different in my life. That's a little harder work than just being illuminated. But it's so easy in our modern world when you can Google anything, you can get awareness quickly and information quickly. It kind of goes to that DIKW model, right? Data, information, knowledge, wisdom. It's so easy to get data and information in our world. We conflate that for knowledge and wisdom. And I think the same thing here, illumination and awareness. Sometimes we have a false read for ourselves and we go, oh, I'm into personal growth, when really what we're into is illumination. We're really into understanding and awareness, not into application in a growth frame. Yeah.
Insight, right? Illumination is that moment you're like, oh, I totally know how this works. And you get an insight. That is a totally different ball of wax from doing something about it and implementing changes in your life to accommodate this new insight.
Well, and in fact, so this is okay, let me talk about a real world scenario. I have insight that I tend to get excited when conversations are happening and I jump in with a new idea and I cut people off. I have awareness and insight about that. That's not personal growth. I mean, that's a step in the right direction to be aware of that. But I need to stop cutting people off with my excitable ideas and let them finish their sentence before I jump in with my idea. Like, that's the growth that I have to take. That's what I have to do. But what I see a lot of people doing in type is going, well, I'm an ENFP. I could see myself even doing this. Well, I'm an ENFP. I get excited about, I've used this as an excuse as well. I get excited about things, so of course I'm going to cut you off because it's actually me being very interested in what you have to say, and I'm meeting you halfway. And it's like I use the type system to actually cover the fact I'm not doing growth around this, and excusing it based on the awareness I had that, well, that's what I do, right? I cut people off because I'm an ENFP and I can't wait to just jump in the conversation and contribute. Well, that's not actually personal growth. That's in fact an escape valve or a bypass around something that I could actually address that would actually help people in my life experience me better. I think you know what I'm talking about, Antonia. Rather than just jumping in all the time.
Yeah.
And that's hard work, and I'm still working on it. Like, it's still tough for me. No matter how hard I put attention to it, my extrovert intuition exploration just kicks in and I keep wanting to jump in with things.
Yeah. People who only know us from the podcast will be like, yes, but Antonia never stops talking, so of course you have to jump in.
Well, and that's true. And not just on the podcast.
Oh, you're not going to pretend like I do more talking off the podcast.
You do a lot of talking, not all of the talking, but yeah, you.
All right, I'm going to do an audit of everybody who knows us. And I'm going to ask, who does more talking off the podcast?
You really want to do that?
I'm interested.
Cheers to that.
All right.
I'll be curious to see what comes back.
Out.
We've got to ask them before this episode comes out because they might know something's up. But
yeah. All right. I'll find out. All right. Information pending. So regardless, yes.
Remember, challenges don't work out well for you when you challenge me on these things. Remember when we first met and you challenged me, you thought that you were able to embarrass me in public more than I can embarrass you?
Oh, but that was just complete and total ignorance on my part.
I was like, I don't know about that.
No, that was the salad days of youth, right? Those were that was before I understood the full capacity of people with ENFP preferences, and you specifically, your capacity to hang with social embarrassment. It's not, I've never seen the like. So I just didn't know. That was like the first day we met or the second day we met. I just could not have known. Right. So you can't hold me that one.
Fair enough.
Now I have like over a decade of understanding and knowledge about the two of us. I think I have a little more leg to stand on with that one.
Fair enough.
Well, and I was going to go back to what you mentioned, which was this idea of like having ENFP preferences to justify the behavior. And then I was thinking, based on what we're talking about right now is an understanding of type theory in general. The next level of that is, and you can't be an ENFP if you don't do that.
Yeah.
Right. If somebody actually has taken the time and developed themselves and worked on themselves and handled some of those very, I do this because I'm an ENFP, and like, oh, that's the golden ticket. That's the golden ticket to be able to just behave however I want to. And if somebody's done the hard work of getting to the other side of that, it's like, oh, that person can't be an ENFP. They're mistyped.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you're not honoring all the work they did. Right. And I think that's the other piece of it is when somebody has a lot of, they've done a lot of growth and development, particularly understanding type as a tool and having that be part of their personal growth. To say that they're not that type completely dishonors all the work they put into it to be able to to sort of soften those rough edges.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you can't be an ENTP. Why can't I be an ENTP?
And that's people serving the system.
Yes.
That's having people have to fit a system rather than having the system emerge from the person.
That's right. That's right.
And we see it all the time. We spend a lot of time in our profile training program going through these kinds of things because I think all of us do this.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how long we've been at this, we all tend to do these kinds of things.
Yeah. And so I think it also requires a better foundational understanding of what type is all about. Is it 16 boxes that we kind of shove ourselves into? And that would be sort of the highest level of like just understanding 16 personalities, right? And we all shove ourselves in there. And if that's the case, if that's as far as it goes, well, then all of the detractors have a point, right? Yeah. All the people who write those articles about how terrible Myers-Briggs is because that's their level of understanding and they don't want to be shoved into a box. If that's where we're at, if we're serving a system, then we've just proven all those people right. Or we get one layer down where we're looking at it in terms of, dichotomy level, introversion, extroversion, sensing, intuition. But if we have to obey this master, right, of like, I'm a thinker, so therefore emotions are icky. I mean, we can make jokes about it, I mean, truly, like when I'm in a really deeply emotional place, it's not comfortable. I'm not happy there. It is kind of yucky. And that's my work. My work is to hang there and to get better at being in that space and not go, well, I'm a thinker, so I'm not supposed to do this. And so if we're doing that, again, we are obeying a system. We're not using it to its full capacity. And then when we get to function level, which makes us all feel so smart and special, right? Those of us who are into type and understand functions and we're like, this is how this function works. And I'm super smart because I figured this out. Again, we fall for this serving the function, right? Like the function is a tool that gives us as people insights. You recently made a tweet about how introverted feeling understands people's intentions and motivations. And then there was and that's the function that we nicknamed authenticity. And there was some like hubbub about like, no, introverted feeling is just about the self. And I'm like, okay, the function might be, but you're not trapped in introverted feeling or authenticity, even if you have ENFP preferences. You get to kick some of that content up to the thinking brain. And the brain goes, well, now that I'm tapped into this idea of intentions and motivations, where else are intentions and motivations? Yeah. Oh, yes, around me, right? And other people. Well, I'm pretty tapped into that energy. So when I see somebody behaving in a certain way, my introverted feeling is going to have the sophistication because it's been studying this thing inside of me for so long. It's going to be able to go, I think that's probably what's going on for the other person. Yeah. Right? And how would it not? It's a parent function for you. How would it not be aware of what's going on for others? It's like, no, it's just a subjective experience. It's just for you as an individual. And I'm like, how does that make any sense? It follows me. I don't follow it. I'm not trapped by it. So this idea that we have to serve any aspect of this system, that it doesn't serve us, that's also a challenge of not being into growth. Because once you get into growth and you use the system in personal growth, you start to realize it's not the tool for all the problems. It is not the complete package of who I am. I do not serve this system. I am not going to be shoved into these descriptions or these memes or these descriptions. I am me. And there's a lot to me that has nothing to do with that. But when I know this, oh my gosh, it makes it so much easier.